Rarely do I make a video for praise. That's not the intention of this. But I just want to help people, maybe food for thought. No, I didn't get choked. Keep seeing that on the camera. It's a homemade scapular. Homemade. But it looks like I was choked. um, but if you look in, if you watch your situation, and if people seem to be sabotaging you, you're dealing with people you just can't get through to them. They don't want to report right and wrong. They don't want to get anything near a police report. They always dismiss you, or they gaslight you, or you talk to your blue in the face, and then they go right back to the same thing. It's a hardness of the heart. The greatest human trafficker of all, Pharaoh. The word in Hebrew means hardness of heart, unrepentant, unchanging. Pharaoh or Pharaoh. Anyway. So, it's interesting when you look at the people that they're unmoving, and you just think of the last person that dealt with you regarding maybe a disability issue, paperwork. They refused to sign something, or they said, "Oh, it's not my job," or they said, "You're gonna have to go somewhere else to get this done." Even though people who had it done there, it's this hardness of heart. And then you talk to them about, helping people with medical stuff, and helping people, deal with their disabilities, to get them treated, to get them evaluated, to get them defined, and to get, them into some kind of disability program so they can ramp up their medical care. And, hopefully, if they do the system the way it's supposed to be done, get to a maximum medical improvement, get to a maximum plateau as far as if they're going to have financial help, and, maximum help is if they're going, well, they will, but maximum help regarding, their future medical care. And then they move forward. The best thing for people who are disabled is to have a business. Don't work for somebody else, because, you have challenges, you have limitations. And the state of the world is now, small businesses will try to work with you. But because of big businesses, sometimes they can't. It's better to work for yourself. Become that small business owner. And there's so much out there, especially if you're a veteran. So much out there. If you're a female or, a member of minority, so much out there. White males, there's still stuff out there. A lot. But, there's always various small business programs that target certain communities. Just look, you'll find them. There could be some for Catholic Men's Business Association or Orthodox Men Business Fund. There's stuff out there for everyone. But that's the best thing for people who are disabled. But anyway, this focus is on those people that their heart is so hardened. They don't have empathy. In my family, we call it this. That way we don't have to speak of it. But when we do this, my daughter and I, it means that a person doesn't have empathy. You can't reach them. There's nothing there. No compassion. They don't care about right and wrong. Only what is right here in their mind. They don't move outside of that. Sometimes this is mental illness. Not always. Sometimes it's just people who have shut down, but they refuse to get the help that they should get, or they don't want it. They enjoy hurting people. But it takes me back to, Jesus and the apostle, all their interactions with the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes. They were like that. They were just nothing there. You could talk and preach, nothing there. Think of all the times that Jesus lectured them and tried to, reframe their thinking of the Torah, or reframe their thinking of what's permitted on Shabbat, or rethink, how him and his disciples are spreading a kind of mercy, a kind of love that, that ultimately will end in Jesus dying to being that final sacrifice, so that the entire universe shifts. Nothing there. Matter of fact, when he would talk to them, they would plot against him more. That's how the devil is when you confront him. Just like Jesus also said, when you confront him, and some of them you have to confront through prayer and fasting. And then even then, when some of them leave, they'll come back and bring 7 of their friends. Meaning that apparently there's some degree of organizing in the world of the demonic. But there's also here in the world of us, created in God's image, with that seed of him in us, as well as original sin, but in Christ, that seed of him in us, that good side of us, flowers. And if you receive the sacraments and you try to live a holy life and you're disciplined and you have long suffering, all of these things, they make that flower bigger and bigger. And eventually it gets seeds. At some point in time, it will get seeds, and it will spread those seeds out. And those seeds, those are people who their heart is converted. They've changed their lives. They've begun to grow as a baby believer. And the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes, they don't see this. They don't care. Think of all the times that when Jesus, example, healing someone who's dying on the Sabbath, and the Pharisees say to him, "Oh, why do you heal and save a life on the Sabbath?" And what does Jesus say to them? He said, "Isn't the greatest commandment is to save a life? Isn't that what the Torah says?" And so apparently they're arguing about his methodology, if it's permitted to save a life and to do a miracle. And so Jesus says to them, some are blind and they won't see. There's nothing there. So just think of your experiences now. Your people are trying to mess your family over. It could be a few people, or it could be several families. Like I just told somebody that works with the housing agency, I don't think the whole world is after my family. I think it's a group of people. Some of them are related. Many of them are, connected in one way or another, but all of them, for the most part, know one member or another. It's, and it's between several agencies. These people know each other anyway. Michigan Works, MDHHS and Saginaw are right across the street from each other. They know each other. They deal with each other all the time. The housing agencies, they deal with VA and HUD all the time, and HUD-VASH all the time. They all know each other. So, like I said, when you're dealing with some of these people, not everybody has the gift discernment of spirits. It's something I didn't get for a long time. Long time. A lot of bad people before, and we seem to get away from those kind of people for a long time. But then again, now that I know some of the people that I was around in the Philippines and some of the people I contracted with, they're not the greatest people. Some of them are innocent, just men who refuse to grow. Others are just bad people. But I thought that I'd gotten away from these kind of people, but we're have them dumped on us since we came to this part of the state 8 years ago. They've just been dumped on us. But anyway, you think of these kind of people, they're no compassion, they're unmoving. It doesn't matter what, you could even quote them from their own manuals, they won't budge. And they may even make up a reason why they can't see what you've read or whatever, or they can't find it because there's nothing there. And they may be the most conservative people. I've seen them in two areas: extremely liberal, extremely left people. They have no compassion. And people extremely on the right, very, very conservative, no compassion. And this goes back to interesting to note the extremes. There's a speech by Elie Wiesel back in, what was it, 1999 or 1994? When they asked him, they said, Elie, they said, what do you think is the greatest evil in the world, the most destructive thing? Everything that you've seen in your life, you've come through, you've wrote about. And he said, I can answer it quickly. Extremism. He said, extremes of anything harm people. The worst thing in the world is extremes of anything. Extremes of ideology, extremes of wealth, extremes of materialism, extremes of use of the environment, extremes of control, extremes of governance, extremes of relationships, everything. Extremes is destruction. And this is a this is a Christian as well as a Buddhist statement. The Torah doesn't talk so much about extremes. The Torah is a specific document. But when we go into the Christian testaments, the Gospels, and especially St. Paul's writings, then extremism is really, really dealt with. Especially St. Paul, somebody who used to be a scribe and a member of the Sanhedrin, one of the highest judges in Israel. He was one of them. So he knows all about attention to detail, about minutiae, about acts that bring out consequences. He knows all about it. So he's given us some of the greatest writings in his letters to various churches or to people. And he talks about what happens with the minutiae when people only have this minutiae and only this. No compassion, no foresight, no long sight, forward sight, no hindsight. It means they're blind.